Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Temple, and thank you for joining us on Unscripted today. This is a weekly conversation segment that we provide to you on New Hope Online every Wednesday afternoon at 12:30. And we are glad that you could join us, whether you're streaming us or listening to us or watching us or doing all of the above. We thank you for joining with us this afternoon. Don't forget to like and share it, whatever platform you're on. We'd love for more people to watch this. We have had some incredible conversations in the past month. Today is no different. And of course, don't forget to comment. We have moderators online right now. So if you have a comment or a question, we will try and get to it, and comment below in the space provided. Today's conversation is with somebody I'm sure most of the people that have gone to our church know, because he is just like a staple out in front of our church every Sunday morning, welcoming and greeting people. He's a fantastic human being. He's best known for his work in the community, specifically Family Promise, and he is just a wonderful and just amazing leader in our church. And like I said before, just a fantastic human being. I'm talking about Skip Wilson, and it's our privilege to have Skip Wilson here today. Skip, how are you doing today?
Great, Chris. Doing good.
Thank you for joining us. I wanted to just kind of get with you and talk with you because I feel like, just personally, I've never really gotten to know you on a level where I don't know where you're from. I don't know how or you got involved with the church, and today I would just like to take a moment to kind of talk with you about that. So first and foremost, are you from Brandon? Or are you from somewhere else?
No, we're from Virginia. Judy and I went to school at Virginia Tech and moved here right after graduation. So,
And why did you come to this area?
well, I flew in here for an interview. I had a bunch of offers, as did most electrical engineers in that year. I flew in here for an interview, and it looked like a tropical paradise. And I thought, I'll work here for nothing. Make a long story short, Tico hired me, and that's the end of the story.
And how many years did you put in with Tico?
39.
Wow, that's amazing.
Only job I ever had.
Only job you ever had. Not a lot of people can say that, even at
Uh,
like age 25. They can count on
right.
two hands how many jobs they've had. That's amazing. And did you start out as a lineman, or what did you do?
No, they hired me as an engineer. So I
Okay.
worked in engineering department for a couple of years, then got sent to Plant City as the engineer, and then came back to Tampa and worked my way up to being in charge of energy delivery.
And how was it that you started to get involved with New Hope? Back then, it would have been First United. But how did you wind up here?
Well, each place that we had lived, we joined the largest church, and we joined because I thought that's what good people did.
Hmm.
And with a large church, I thought I could be invisible. The only problem is that the pastor then, Ray Harrison, in the middle of a storm, I was at work because we had a storm and I was in charge of service restoration. And Ray Harrison called me, and one of the dispatchers said, "Your pastor's on the phone." I said, "Pastor? I don't even have a pastor." Anyway, it was Ray Harrison, and he said, "I've got a job for you." And I should have said no, but I didn't. And it was altar guild. How about that? And that's how I got drawn to New Hope.
Now, when you first started coming in, was there something that was likable about this church? Was there something sort of encouraging for you to just kind of grasp onto? Was it the people? Was it the staff? Was there something specific?
Well, it was a pastor, Ray Harrison. And
Okay.
again, I didn't know the Lord. I just was joining the church because that's what good people did.
And how many years ago was that?
53.
Wow. So you've seen some staff come and go, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the ebbs and flows. Now, let me ask you this. How did you get involved with Family Promise? Describe how that came to you.
Well, as I approached retirement, I was praying about what the Lord wanted me to do. and he gave me 3 jobs over a period of some period of time. 3 jobs. One of them was prison ministry, which the district stopped doing about the time I got this assignment. And the second was Young Life to get it started again in Brandon. So
Mhm.
Ted Dunham and I were able to get it started. I think it's still working at Newsom High School. And the third thing he gave me to do is work with homeless, which I had no idea what that meant. But I met, and he said, look around to see where I'm already working. And I did, and I found Cynthia Pinckney, and she was ministering to the homeless, and she taught me what I knew about that. We helped her. We did a Christmas with her, and then Thanksgiving, we she did a Thanksgiving meal. So uh, that's how it came about.
What, are some of the success stories you could tell us from working in Family Promise and doing things that
Well,
involve working with families?
let me tell you how I got there. Uh, about the time that I retired, Vince Ferrara and I were in a meeting at the chamber talking about homelessness, and everybody had left but us. Make a long story short, we decided to open to feed the homeless, and we looked for a year and finally found a church out in Mango, a blessed pastor, and he let us use that and redo the Sunday school rooms. And so for, I don't know, 6 years, we fed 80,000 dishes out there.
Wow.
We lost our lease. And by the way, there's a Wawa on the site now. Lost our lease, and that's when Family Promise came to town and met with our pastor and a few others. And so I was immediately put on the board, and 3 or 4 of us got it started, uh, different churches. And then I recruited most of the Methodist churches that are involved. So that's how it came about.
And how many churches are involved in it right now, would you say?
13.
13.
Yeah.
And how many families do you see in a year's time?
Well, it just depends. Of course, this has been a tough time, and anytime folks get income tax refund or additional money, then they're not homeless for a while. They're in a hotel somewhere.
Right.
But we've helped, I don't know, hundreds, and I don't have the exact number, but what we're doing is helping them help themselves get employment and get a place to live. Employment right now is easier than it is a place to live. It's just very, very difficult to find folks apartments or houses where folks with minimum wage can afford it. Both
Mhm.
partners have to work most cases, and but we've done a lot of good for a lot of people, and we continue to hear back from them. And we only have 2 families now because the churches have not opened back up. We can handle 4 or 5 families, and that's where we need to get to soon as her churches open so they can host.
Was this past year with COVID-19, did you see a huge impact with families?
Yes, early on there was a huge impact, but once those checks started flowing, then those folks like this will spend the money and they're not
Right.
homeless anymore. And so we're just now coming back to where people are pretty much desperate again and want to come in. Unfortunately, we can only take 2 at the day center, and that's cramped quarters.
Mhm.
So when the host churches start back up, we can go with up to 5 families at a time. So
What would you say are the biggest needs right now for Family Promise?
the biggest needs for our clients is housing, and most cases we have to go to Tampa. There's nothing around here, and it's very, very difficult. And particularly the folks we're working with have probably been thrown out of a house or been evicted, and that's on their record. And when the folks that have dwellings sees that, it makes it very, very difficult for them to have our families. But we're working on that, and we're getting better. And the families have really not had much trouble finding jobs. Those that are really interested in work, we can help them help themselves and find jobs.
If there is something that I guess just a person who might be watching this or listening to this can do just off the fly, what could they do to help Family Promise?
The main thing is to volunteer with the local churches, so that when we come, we have plenty of volunteers. Second thing is financial, of course. We don't have storage capacity because so that garage sales and that sort of thing are just really not profitable for us. But people have been amazing. Our congregation and our church in their budget and the other 13 churches have just been amazing, continuing to support us and financially and otherwise. So giving is probably the best thing people can do.
Mhm. And how do they give? Can they just go through the churches and give through the churches and specifically say for Family Promise?
They certainly can, and that's the way our church works. When they
Mhm.
do that, then I don't know that they've contributed, so I won't be able to say thank you, but that's certainly what folks can do, either through the church or go on the website, Family Promise of Hillsborough County, and there's a button there to press to how to contribute.
Um, One last question about Family Promise. Just in your heart, where would you like to see Family Promise in 10 years?
We really need 10 Family Promises here in the greater Tampa area. Uh, that's what we need. That's how good the service is. It just takes a lot for churches to be willing to open up, and
Yeah.
that's hard to believe. But Methodist churches really have been the best at that, and most more than half of our churches are Methodist.
Mhm.
So I'm really proud of the denomination to do that. But volunteering where they are, if it's our church or others, and then financial is the two big needs.
Well, a lot of prayers for that, and I know that a lot of people, even the newer people that walk through our doors, I think the first things they always ask about when it comes to serving is, "What is Family Promise all about?" So,
Yeah.
we always push them in that direction. You should check it out, you should see what they need because, it's a great organization, and we're so glad that you're a part of that. Um,
And Chris,
you just got back to in-person worshiping, didn't you?
yep,
How was it, like, week 3 now?
yes, we're three.
With being a part of a church for so long and then all of a sudden getting this curveball thrown at us and having to take a break from in-person worship for almost a year, how did you manage? You obviously managed, but how did you do it?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure how I did it. The Lord blessed us, and we were lucky to stay online, with the church and the church staff. You and the others have done such a great job of keeping the congregation involved that I missed it. I hated not being there, but it was a good alternative.
And of course, it was great to be back, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I missed, and I'd see the people's faces as I approached them. Wow, where have you been? I'm so glad to see you back. And it was a great time the first couple of Sundays I was there for me to see so many friends that I'd seen before.
That's awesome. Now, listen, and I don't know if you like hearing this or not, but I feel like a lot of people look up to you, and they definitely see an example of being invitational, being warm, being kind, being brotherly. And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What is it that you could share to others who have seen you uh, become more like you?
Gosh, Chris, that's not a fair question, but uh,
Well, we would see more Skip Wilsons on the patio if that was the
uh,
case,
right.
and there's you.
But again, there's room for each of us to find our niche. And the way I got to be the greeter is that years ago, one family told me that they were never welcomed into our church. And I thought, man, that's terrible. I can do something about that. I'm going to stand outside. So I'm an introvert, but on Sundays I'm an extrovert.
Mm.
So that's how I got started.
And I can't tell you how many stories I've heard, from people who have said, uh, "The first time I ever walked into this church, I was greeted by Skip Wilson," or I just was having a horrible day, and Skip Wilson was there to greet me at church." And I wish more people were like that. I wish that more people took that initiative. But you do, and I'm so thankful that. you are here.
But the Lord has a position for all of us, and that's if we want a job, we need to pray about where He wants us. But there's so many places in our church to contribute.
Mhm.
There's no reason not to find a job if you really want to.
Let me ask you something about church. Obviously, you have seen a lot of changes in your time. I mean, it's physical, spiritual, through leadership. Um, is it hard to embrace change? And what are some of the things that you feel kind of uncertain about with changes in the church?
Well, number one is I love the atmosphere and the services as they are now. One thing we need to look at is down the road. What can we do to attract more young people into our church? And that's what I've been praying about, and we've talked about it, leadership, and that's our biggest need is to be able to get out into the world and invite folks. And we've got a great message to offer. We're Bible based, we're believers, and we just need to determine what's the best way to involve more people, to make more disciples.
You've been so successful with serving, and you've been an example in our community. What else do you think we need to do as a community? Not just as a church, but as a community?
Well, the biggest need is affordable housing. There's a new complex going on, being built on Kings north of Bloomingdale right now. They say that it's going to be uh, low priced in order to some folks that are homeless can afford it. I hope so. Others have said that, and once they got open, we couldn't get in. So we need affordable housing. And what happens with many of our folks are working for minimum wage, and so it takes two of them to work. And as a conservative, I'm really not too excited about raising the minimum wage until I think of our people and how tough it is on a minimum wage to exist and to save enough money to move out. And so I know that a lot of people don't think that's a good idea. My bias based on the homeless, it's a great idea for them.
Mhm. What do you do? I know that you're involved and you have so many ways of serving. But what do you do when you just see someone on the street? Because we've heard about, you have to watch yourself. There is toxic charity. But when you see someone on the street, how do you approach that person when they're asking for help?
Well, number one is some people do that for a living, and they don't deserve the help. And that's the secret is you need to know who is and who doesn't. Uh, and my thought about homelessness is different. One of when I we started a cold weather shelter,
Mhm.
and I remember one night talking to one of the folks, and he said, I've got an apartment just across the street here, but I couldn't afford the down payment, so I've got to come up with money in 3 or 4 days." He said, "What I did was I went down 60 to Publix and I just stood out there, no sign, no nothing, and people gave me the $500 I needed over a couple days." Uh, that's amazing. There's no way he could have saved that kind of money, and that's a problem for the poor, is that they don't have enough money to pay the down payment on a house or an apartment, and that's why a higher minimum wage would really help that class of people.
You ever thought about being in politics?
One regret is that I didn't run for the school board.
When were you
Only
going to do that?
because I think they need a businessman there, and
Yeah.
I think I could have helped. But other than that, no, I had no interest.
I think you would have been great on the school board. Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful.
Too late for
Um,
that.
well, don't ever say too late. Come
Yeah,
on now.
right. I won't.
Here's a random question. You, as a person, many years ago, meeting up with Ray Harrison, and you now, what is the one thing that's different about your relationship with God?
Well, as I told you, when I joined the church, I joined the largest church in town to hide. Didn't expect to be covered, but the Lord had been following me and tailing me all those years. When I first came to TICO, one of the senior engineers took me aside and uh, suggested I go to Bible study, which was fantastic. This same engineer, one day we were on at the mayor's prayer breakfast downtown, and he asked me if he could ride back to work. And I thought, man, this is a bad idea, but I couldn't say no. And on the way back, he said, Chris, he said, Skip, do you know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior? And I said, well, I think so. And he said, is that good enough? And I thought, my gosh, no, that's not good enough. I want more than that. And that's kind of led me down to June the 23rd, 73, when Ray Harrison gave an altar call. And I had responded to often called altar calls at Leesburg Men's Retreat. And as soon as I would leave there, Chris, the devil would say, "You don't need that. You're a good person. That's for other people." So that Sunday, when Ray Harrison gave the altar call, I thought I was going to fly off the balcony because that's where we were sitting. And I just needed to make a public commitment. And I'm so thankful for Ray for chasing me along with the Lord. I tried to get away many times, and he finally hooked me.
That's awesome. What is it that you value the most right now in your life?
Uh, Spending time with the kids and grandkids. Luckily, we have all of our family here within a mile of us. We have 8 grandchildren, 7 boys, and finally we got a girl. But they're all now, the older ones are getting serious about marriage and that sort of thing. This is an amazing time for us as a
Yeah.
family to have people in the 6th grade all the way into college. So, but the
Eh,
family's here, and how blessed I am that so many of my friends, their families all over the United States. And I think the secret was that my sons went to college here,
mhm.
and in most cases met local girls, and they stayed. Thank God they stayed.
Not a
And
lot
that's
of
not
people
too
can say
much.
that.
No, that's right.
You have been blessed with that comfort of them being around you. That's very important, and not a lot of people can say that. So, should we count on you being out on that patio for a long time?
Probably another 20 years. I suspect I can do it. I may have
That's
to
awesome.
step down, but yeah, I
I
love
don't
it.
I don't know if you I don't
That's
know
my
if you
small contribution, and I'm going to do it, even
listen,
if I have. Go ahead.
I don't know if you heard that shout and roar of applause when you just said for another
No,
20
I didn't
years.
hear that. No,
I did.
but to see people come in and I say hello, and all of a sudden their face goes from looking down at the ground to looking at me and smiling. Folks need to hear that,
Yeah.
and that's an important part of our job, and it's a small job, but it's what I think we need to do, and that's why I'm doing it. And I will continue as long as I'm able.
Skip, I want to thank you for joining me today and having this great conversation with you. I feel so thankful and blessed that I get a chance to talk with you. Even if we do it this way, it's awesome because we get to share your story with others, and I think it's really important because when they see the man on the patio saying hello and welcoming them on Sunday morning, they actually know who you are now, and I think that's awesome. So I really
Right.
appreciate your time today.
You're, my pleasure.
God bless you, and thank you so much for joining us on Unscripted today. And join us next week, Wednesday, 12:30, same time, and we will have another guest. We will have some great conversation, and don't forget to like and share this. And when you see it reposted, share it again. Why not? Let people know about the great people and the great conversations we're having at New Hope Online. in Unscripted. Have a wonderful day.